Trish and Rob MacGregor welcome you to a place where all kinds of phenomena flourish. Here we meet authors, researchers, and investigators of the mysterious, the strange, and of the inexplicable anomalies that surround us. Step out of the everyday world and take a journey into the mystical underground.
And if you guys are ready, we'll start in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Mystical Underground. Thank you for joining us. This is Rob MacGregor and
Trish MacGregor.
And our producer and tech magician, Jon Posey, also known as the Mysterious Disembodied Voice. You can go to themysticalunderground.com, where we make regular blog posts and where you can find out about our books. Among them are The 7 Secrets of Synchronicity, Sensing the Future, The Secrets of Spirit Communication, and Aliens in the Backyard. Our latest book is called Mind-Blowing Synchronicities, the latest science, stories, and research. Trish's latest novel is called Not Quite Human. Rob's most recent novel is called Tulpas, a story of mysterious beings created through deep meditation. If you are watching us on YouTube, we would appreciate it if you would take a second to click the like, subscribe, and notification buttons so you never miss an episode. If you prefer to listen to the show, it's available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe there.
Kara, our guest today is Linda Moonrabbit. Now, how do you pronounce your last name, Linda?
Zlotnick.
Okay, Zlotnick. Linda has practiced astrology professionally since 1978 and serves as Director of Certification for the Organization for Professional Astrology, the OPA. She's the author of Star Sisters, an astrologer's memoir of twin loss, and she teaches the master class in death charts at Kepler College. She lives in St. Paul, Minnesota. Minnesota's where Rob is from. Linda's new book is called Death Charts, an Astrological Tool for the Bereaved, a bit of an ominous title, but a catchy one. Thank you for coming and joining us. We can't wait to talk to you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thanks to you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Okay, what exactly is a death chart? Explain it to us.
Yes, so a death chart does not predict someone's death. It is an after-the-fact, taking the date, time, and place that someone died when you have the time, and constructing a horoscope just like you would for any other event, but looking at that in two parts, one to kind of understand better what was going on energetically as the person passed, and the other to help the grieving person make some sense of why this is happening to them now and how they might find a way to a clearer recovery in that loss.
I'm going to have to try your technique for Nigel, our dog.
Yeah.
We know what time he died, so.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, now you got started because you lost your twin sister.
That's right.
Well, what happened?
Well, so in 2005, I had been practicing astrology almost 30 years, working with people full time. And, you know, I was pretty content with my practice. And because I was an astrologer, I saw one of the planets that has to do with sudden, unexpected separations heading towards a symbol in my chart that had to do with primary relationships. So when she called from the hospital and said she had ovarian cancer, I kind of instinctively knew that we wouldn't have very much time together. And so 5 months later, she did die, and I was able to be with her. And she had what I would call a really good death. She had all these people who loved her telling her to go to the light and that she would be remembered. So I looked at the time when I felt her heart stop beating, and I knew that I would make that into a chart. I wanted to see if I could understand the moment, or if the moment would speak to me. And it took quite a few years for me to actually be able to understand that her journey as a soul on this planet had been completed. And even though I didn't want her to leave, she had done what she came for. And it really helped me kind of just surrendered to the fact that there was some larger power or force at work here.
Yeah. How old was she?
Do you ever find that? I'm sorry, go ahead. Rob.
56 years old.
56, oh, young, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that transiting Jupiter has anything to do with death?
Not very often. So,
well, I asked because that was what was going on with my sister. She had Jupiter conjuncting her sun when it was in Capricorn.
That's a lovely way to go.
Yeah, I mean, it was fast.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what I think Jupiter may do, when it is concerned with death.
Yeah.
It was fast, but very shocking because she's a very healthy person.
Yeah.
And what happened to your sister, Trish?
She had sepsis, but it was a result of a infection. They didn't know what it was.
Sepsis from the hospital, and it went very quickly.
Mm-hmm. And I have seen Jupiter in the studies that I've done for the last 11 years. It does seem to accelerate that person's passing. But for people who study astrology, there have to be a convergence of a lot of things at the same time. It's just not a singular transit or a singular eclipse. It's a kind of grouping of things that are present every time I've done one of these death charts.
Do you find that Uranus is part of it?
Of course. So Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and Chiron.
Yeah, all those guys.
I have a chapter on each one of them in the book, and they will have a certain kind of energetic blueprint around what's going on. So that Saturn is sometimes associated with a very slow, long illness preceding a death, where Uranus will be much more like a head-on car crash where the person dies instantly. But the purpose of the book and the writing is not kind of to necessarily predict or understand death, but to help the person who is suffering from the loss of someone they love.
Explain what Chiron is. I mean, I know it's the wounded healer, but for people who don't.
So in 1979, it started with the astronomers, right? So there was this heavenly body nobody had really noticed before. And there was a lot of theorizing that a huge chunk of something broke off from a comet or something was captured in between Saturn and Uranus. But it had a regular orbit. And so initially in 1979, astrologers weren't really sure quite what to do with it. And they thought about it as this bridge between the most conventional planet, Saturn, the most pragmatic planet, Saturn, and the renegade, kind of break all the rules planet, Uranus. But then when the planetoid was given this name of Chiron, everybody started studying the Greek mythology. So in ancient Greece, Chiron was a healer, an immortal. He was the son of Zeus, so he couldn't die. And he had all these gifts for healing. And in his story, he's wounded by a poison arrow, and there's no antidote for the poison. So at some point, he realizes he can't die, and he's suffering so much. So he doubles his effort to try and cure himself. And while he's out looking for an herb, he sees Prometheus was another immortal. And Prometheus stole fire from the gods to give to humanity, which was forbidden. So he's being punished by being chained to this large rock, and this raven eats out his liver every night.
Ooh.
So Chiron looks at Prometheus, this other immortal, and he's filled with compassion, something he was not very good at before. So he goes to the Greek pantheon of gods and says, "What can I do so you'll set Prometheus free?" And they say, "Okay, if you can go to Hades, the underworld, and survive for 9 days and nights, not only will we set Prometheus free, we'll alleviate all human suffering." So Chiron does the descent into the underworld, and he comes out, nobody quite knows how, and he's turned into the constellation of Centaurus. Prometheus is set free, and human beings are, for a period of time, freed from their suffering. And so there's a lesson, I think, about people like the woman who started Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, people who have a terrible tragedy, who then go on to change the world so other people don't have to suffer the same tragedy. There are modern Chiron people. So in Chiron deaths, which was a part of my twins' death chart, she had all these near-death experiences. So I was sitting with her and she would like leave. I could feel her gone and then she would come back. And I would say,
before she got ill.
She was in hospice. So she was kind of actively dying. And I would say, where did you go? And she said, oh, I go to this place where my pain is gone and there's this beautiful music and our dead mother is there and everybody loves everybody. And so there were like 10 people taking care of her and everybody was part of this. You don't have to be afraid of death. Death is beautiful. Death is a place where your pain goes away. Death is where you meet up with people that you love, but they're gone. And it was very healing. Her kind of suffering brought this awareness to this group of people that was very profoundly chironic and healing.
So
did you say she was your twin?
Yes, my identical twin.
Oh boy, that's a tough situation.
Yeah. That connection is really, I think, kind of extraordinary.
Yeah.
I don't have it with anybody else.
Did you have much
her suffering? I mean, did you experience the same type of pain?
So it was more just these weird little things, like when she started chemotherapy, I guess it creates this taste of metal in your mouth. And I was at that session with her and suddenly my mouth was filled with this taste of metal.
Oh, wow.
And I said to her, like, what is going on? So, I mean, I tried not to feel her pain. So as somebody who works in the metaphysical field, you have to learn to protect yourself. When I first started, I was full of other people's pain, but it didn't help them. It just made me feel terrible. So I learned over the years to kind of create a separateness. So no, I didn't embody her pain. I had my own pain because I knew that she was dying. I mean, it was very, very clear to me that she would not overcome, no matter what the doctor said. It was just pretty clear.
So she wasn't quite yet at her second Saturn return.
So the day that she died, Saturn was at 0 degrees, 0 minutes of Leo, which is where our natal Saturn is. So that was pretty potent. And it was exactly conjunct. It was exactly opposed Chiron at 0 Aquarius.
Wow.
How many years ago did she die?
It's 21 now.
Have you had telepathic any contact with her after her death?
Well, yes and no. So the first year, there was this absence that absolutely, I was so unprepared because we had always been so connected. So there's a few examples I could give you. She was on this trip and she was assaulted and I woke up and was like, oh my God, something's wrong. And then I get a phone call, So we had that kind of connection, as many, many twins do, that when things went really bad, the other person knew. So I thought, oh, okay, well, she'll stay connected with me because we have this. But for the whole first year, it was just like blank. And I felt like there was a piece of me that was missing. It wasn't just.
Right.
So then I had this dream. This was on her birthday, it was 14 months after she died. And in the dream, I walked into this room and she was there and I was hugging her and I was crying. And she said to me, I know it's been a long time, but time is really different where I am now. So I'm sorry it took so long to get back to you. And then she opened this door and these 7 beings of light came out. They weren't people. They were just outlines of light. and they started oming.
Wow.
And they took me and she levitated me onto this table, and these beings of light all stood around me, and she put her hands on my head and they all omed. And I swear when I woke up from that dream, I felt completely, I mean, my grief wasn't gone, but I felt so much better. So I don't know what you would call that.
That's a dream.
Yeah.
But it's,
a
when I was,
it's a big
detailed.
dream.
when I was
Yeah.
hugging her, I felt like she was in the room with me.
Yeah.
You know, I could smell her shampoo, and it didn't feel like a dream. It felt like a visit, except when these beings of light showed up. But I've never had that.
Any idea
again.
what these beings were? Do you have any idea what these beings
I think that they were, spirits. They were disincarnate,
Huh.
kind of evolved spirits, healers.
Sure.
God.
Like our last guest would call them angels.
Yes. So we had dreams after that. We had quite a few wonderful dreams after that, where we would just kind of talk about things. So I feel her in my life now, but I don't know if it's just what it is. I feel her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I feel we're close.
Do you believe in reincarnation? You think
Absolutely, 100%.
You think she's been reborn yet?
Well,
Is she waiting for you?
I kind of think that we'll have another go around together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Huh. Did you ever explore your past lives together when she was alive?
No, we didn't. And when we were children, you know how children play make-believe?
Mm.
And we had a few things that we played make-believe about a lot more than other things. And I've often thought that that was our little tapping into the past lives together.
Huh. That would have been interesting. Huh. Do you have any inklings about what a future life together might be? Are you that psychic?
No. I think it would all be wishful thinking at this point, and not. Yeah.
Interesting.
So do you see grief then as part of the soul's evolution?
Yes. So here's something I feel like is missing in American society, is that we try and bypass grief, or we try and, just gloss through it. And so we'll have a funeral, we'll have a celebration.
Right.
And then people are like, okay, just back at it. Like, okay, this thing happened, but no, you're not going to be in pain for years, or do you know what I mean? And I think that it's really important to feel the loss. I don't think you could heal without really kind of surrendering to the anger and the pain and the agony, like all these really, really hard feelings. And I feel like in part I was able to heal because I kind of leaned into the suffering part of grief. So let me tell you a story. A little over a year after my twin died, I found this online group, Twinless Twins United. And they exist. They're international now. And it was a group for twins who'd lost their other half. And I went to a grief group, but everybody there had either lost a parent or they lost a spouse. And it just didn't compare to what I was going through. So I thought, oh, this is great. I'll get together with all these twins. So the way that they structured the meeting was that every twin had a chance to talk. And so, they would tell their story. And there was one man who got up, and he was sitting in a chair, and his wife was standing next to him. And she said, "This is so-and-so. How you introduce yourself is this is Linda, twin to Luann, right? So this is so-and-so, twin to so-and-so." Well, it's been 12 years and he still can't talk about his brother. And I watched her tell this story, and he was like frozen. He was frozen in grief. And it really hit me that some people don't ever recover, And so it became really important to me. I was maybe a year and a half out since I'd lost my twin. And it became really important to me that I didn't want to become this frozen person.
Did you ever hear him talk about it? I mean, in this twin group, did he ever say anything?
No.
No?
His wife did all the talking.
So is there evidence that our souls choose important moments in our lives, including our departures?
So I've talked with other astrologers about this. I think that there are these periodic departure points that come up throughout our lifetime. And for example, I was in a very, very, what would you call it? It could have been a deadly car crash in 1995, but I survived, And that could have been a departure point for me. And how we talk about it in astrology is that it has to do with the nodes of the moon, which are the soul. They're the unfinished business from past lives and the evolutionary path of the soul in this life. And so as they go around and as things are activating them, we get to these kind of crossroads. And for some people, they can be what I call internal, so that they go through big metamorphosis within them. And for other people, they can be external. So somebody can get a disease or they can have an accident. And yeah.
Do you feel that the soul chooses everything about the life they live?
No.
The parents, the circumstances, when they're born?
Yes, that part, absolutely, yes. So I write about this in one of the early chapters in the book. So yes, I believe that the soul picks the beginning point and then the whole chart. And within that beginning point in the chart, the family of origin as well, because that's represented in the chart. But then as we walk down the path of our lives, there will be these series of astrological transits, okay? So Jupiter comes around every 12 years, Saturn every 29, if you break it down, every 7. Uranus every 21 as part of every 84. Right. So we can learn within those planetary transits to, I call it, collaborate with the energy. We can learn not to be discouraged when Saturn brings delays. We can learn to recommit to the things that matter to us under a heavy Saturn transit instead of feeling like it's this oppressive kind of negative energy. So outside of that system of transits, including Chiron, so Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron, the outer planets, there are these, what I think of as destined events called solar eclipses. So I started studying eclipses in astrology in the 80s because I had the good fortune of meeting somebody in the Twin Cities who was kind of one of the leading people who studied them. So
who was that?
That was somebody named Joan Davies. Okay. So now, like in the 90s and then in the 2000s, lots of astrologers were using eclipses and writing about them. But eclipses, and this is something that I've seen now in play for, what would it be, 46 years, they bring events over which people have no control. So they work on a collective level. So when I first started studying them, we had Chernobyl, like things that happen.
Right.
They will have tsunamis, they will have devastating earthquakes.
Big collective things.
So they'll be, and they a lot of times will affect like societies or leaders in different parts of the world. But they will come and they will activate parts of a person's birth chart and bring these events, like this woman who had an eclipse on Uranus in her third house. Her brother had gone on a ski trip. He had an accident and he died. I mean, you can't control it. The only thing you can do is work with what it is you're supposed to be learning or gaining from the experience. And that's where the death chart comes into play.
Okay, I have another question. But when Pluto was going through Capricorn, I kept thinking, okay, what's going to happen when it hits 29:56 minutes? Because that's my moon, Capricorn moon. Okay. I always thought it meant I would die. Instead, I had to put down a dog, then my sister died. I mean, it was just like, one thing after another,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, enough, done with this.
Yeah. Yeah. Pluto, yeah. I mean,
That was
Pluto
rough.
pulls people into the shadow, the underworld. You have to face all these things that you'd rather not look at and deal with. And it's very, very common when people have a, 3-year Pluto transit on a part of their chart, that events will happen that force them into thinking about life more deeply and kind of, just for some people reinventing themselves.
What do you think about this eclipse that's coming up on August 12th?
Well,
Leo.
I've been thinking about it a lot.
I bet. And John, you're Leo, so listen.
Be careful. Be careful. That's my birthday.
I know.
Is this for real?
Yep.
August 12th. Yes.
All right. So once every 18 years, you will have an eclipse that is, within a day of your birthday. And when you look back, not necessarily when you live it, but when you look back, that will be a crossroads year. That will be a year where something shifts and you're like, I got to make a change. Okay. So,
hey, John.
Oh, I'm agreeing with all of this so far.
Okay. So, so this eclipse, well, I mean, I'm seeing all kinds of things in the lives of people around me and now in my astrology community, where eclipses shine light on the shadow. They take a heavenly body, it's bright, and then it gets a shadow on it, and then the shadow moves off and it gets illuminated. And if they're often about having to confront things that have been hidden in people's personal lives. And so for people who have planets around, 17, 18, 20, 22 degrees of a fixed sign, stuff's getting stirred up in your life.
And I do want to throw this out there is that, there's definitely a conspiracy theory that on August 12th this year, gravity will fail. So as long as gravity doesn't fail us on the 12th, I'm happy. All right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I don't foresee any failure of gravity.
Okay, that's good. Well, now, do you see solar eclipses as being like double new moons that bring double new opportunities?
Yeah. Yes. Definitely. They can be opportunistic. They often indicate new beginnings. Sometimes it could take 6 months to actually really see what that might be. And
what about? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
They usually come in pairs. Eclipses. So we're having one at 20 Leo, and then 6 months later, one at 17 Aquarius. Okay. So usually you're under the impact of eclipses. Usually it's like for 2 years, because they'll be in the same house of your chart over a 2-year period of time. So that is all getting awakened.
Now, what about the lunar eclipse that follows in Pisces?
Yes. So it seems to me that the solar eclipses are more event-oriented and the lunar eclipses are more emotional, interior-oriented. I have done charts for people who lost someone they loved on a lunar eclipse, but it also had transits from Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron, or 3 or 4 of the above.
Do you teach classes?
I'm only teaching classes right now on death charts. So I used to teach everything, but there are so many wonderful schools now. There are some wonderful astrology schools for people who want to get educated.
Do you think our dog could come back to us in another dog?
Absolutely, 100%, yes.
Yeah. That's what we're waiting for.
There was a movie.
Go ahead.
Did you ever see? I can't remember the name of it.
It was about the dog that came back 3 times to the same family. Yeah. We saw that movie, Rob. I can't remember the name of it though.
Yeah, I was watching it on a plane and I was just like weeping for
I know, I was too.
Yeah, I remember that.
And, a friend of mine who's a psychic said, now look, Trish, the next dog you get is going to have Nigel's soul. I said, well, suppose it's a 3 or 4-year-old dog. And she goes, dogs dogs' souls share bodies. I thought, wow, why can't people do that?
Yeah, maybe they do.
Yeah, maybe they do. I don't know.
We were thinking of getting one soon, but then Trish had this accident where she broke her kneecap, and the doctor said, "Don't get a dog yet," which is probably would give Nigel a little more time on the other side before coming back.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I have a question. Is the time of death as important as the time of birth?
I would say yes, but it's much harder to track down in many, many cases. So, in an ideal situation, the person who's grieving will have been at the bedside of the person who dies, and they'll notice the time, although not all people do. So, I would say maybe half of the readings I do, there is a explicit time of death, and the detail that you get with that is that the ascendant in the death chart is the last breath. So you can kind of see what was happening before the last breath. You can kind of see what was happening after. And sometimes it will tell a really beautiful story that will help the person who's grieving, like, see the cosmic picture of the death rather than just their individual suffering from the loss. So
the location of the death?
Yes, so it all matters, the date, time, the place. The location you have a little more wiggle room with, but I want to talk about just a note, like sometimes there will be a coroner's report. Sometimes the coroner doesn't come till the next day, so that's estimated, but you can work with that. I work with that as an astrologer. When there's no time, then I use this system that astrology has used for untimed births, where you just put a chart for noon is kind of a little bit of a midpoint. So there are little workarounds. Sometimes people will die in their sleep and they don't get discovered till 5 or 6 hours later. So it's much harder it's good to have the time of death. It's just harder to pinpoint.
And can I? So
Yeah,
I had
sure.
I had a question. I had a question earlier, and so going back to being a twin, and I mean, there's obvious reasons for twins to have a connection, but in your opinion, well, is how does it connect to the astrological? I guess what I'm trying to ask is a twin versus a sibling that was born, you don't share a birth date. And what about being in the womb together? So there's a big question for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So twins share their astrological chart, and it's not identical, but it's close. I have done charts for twins who were born 1 minute apart, and there really wasn't anything. They had the same ascendant, the same moon, everything was the same. So then there's these much more kind of subtle forms of astrology that you try and use. But because of being a twin, of course, as an astrologer, I was always really, really interested in studying the charts of twins. And I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I'll try to. So what I discerned was that twins kind of split up the chart, because it's very rare that you get two equally outgoing twins. You'll always have one that's a little more outgoing and one that's a little bit more maybe introspective, right? And I've known twins where one is really, really creative and the other is really analytic. And in the chart, there's tendencies for both. So one twin will kind of step into some part of the chart and the other twin will step into the other part. Or even if we wanted to talk about Capricorn, like, within the range of a sun sign or a moon sign, there's different ways that it can express. And so twins kind of divide up the chart. Then, okay, I'm not sure exactly what the question was.
Well, and yeah, it was a horrible question, but I mean, it really was. But to your point, but you did. I think you got to the crux of it. Is that being a twin, you share. There's a shared path. Maybe would be a way to say it. But the other part of the question is what's the difference between twins and siblings as far as how they relate to each other, through,
astrologically.
Yeah, astrologically, yes.
Astrologically.
Yeah.
Okay, well, even twins who are fraternal will share the same chart, and their brother, sister, or, they're just siblings, right? And the thing about twins is that you grow up with the same set of parents, so you can have like a brother who's 5 years younger than you are. And maybe when you were growing up, your family didn't have much money and there were like all these anxieties, but 5 years later, things were really stable and they experienced their childhood differently and they experienced their parents differently. But when you're twins, you grow up with all the same outer events that shape life happening to you at the same time. And my twin and I didn't agree about everything about our childhoods, but yeah, we kind of globally agreed about a lot of things. And then we had each other. Okay. Now, some twins don't get along, which I found out at these twinless twin meetings. But, we were like each other's rock in a way. So, you have this extra person kind of as part of your team when you are growing up as a twin.
That's interesting because that kind of goes to nature versus nurture, right? Kind of. Because you've got twins that are experiencing life at the same time versus if it's a sibling where, like you said, are experiencing they're not experiencing the same things at the same time.
So what about with the firstborn of the twins? Is there some pattern there? Are they more bossy or?
I think that I know it really held true in my family, and I think that it held true in a lot of other families. Not always. Sometimes the second twin will act like the firstborn, but there is that birth order that will manifest itself.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, somebody will be more outgoing or dominant or bossy, and somebody else will be a little bit more quiet or internal, so.
So it's a balance.
Yeah, I think that's true too. You're with somebody who's just like you and you try and balance each other out a little bit.
So here's a question that probably nobody's ever asked you for. So I'm a Taurus, and when I die, will I still be a Taurus?
You mean stubborn?
Well, so I'm going to float a very untested theory. Okay. So in the book, Death Charts, I present the idea that the death chart is really the personality of the person as they're passing. It's like the imprint of how they leave. And a lot of people will say, well, you die how you live. And I think that that's been true because I've been at quite a few deathbeds now. And people who were really crabby and never happy when they're dying are never happy and crabby. Do you know what I mean? So there's some of that. But I do think that this moment, when you have the moment, there is a certain energy that is more what's being expressed on the way out. I don't know if it sustains when the person is permanently on the other side or not.
Now, go ahead, Trish.
I'm just curious, does do you have any insight into what happens when you die? I mean, people who are religious and believe in heaven and hell, that must have some impact, right?
So after my twin died, I got every book I could on near-death experiences, and I read all of them because that helped me understand that she was having near-death experiences. And uniformly, everybody has this commonality of the light and the tunnel and the relatives welcoming you. But people who are super religious might see the pearly gates of heaven. Do you know what I mean? Where people from other traditions might have other experiences. So our lives are framed through our beliefs already. So I believe our deaths would be framed through our beliefs as well.
It's funny. I just met a local psychic, and I said, okay, what's going to happen to Trump when he dies? And she says, he's going to go to, keep in mind, she's a teacher. She teaches, she's an ESOL teacher. So she's familiar with classrooms. She says, he's going to go to a classroom and he's going to sit there, drinks all by himself. I thought,
detention.
Since that you're a teacher. I mean, that's just, I guess detention. I guess that's her idea.
That's what we had in high school. So, are you still there, Linda?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, you studied charts for like decades, and has been anything that really surprised you about the death charts, even though you've done it so many years?
So I'm kind of continually surprised at how accurate they are, which I shouldn't be after all these years. But going into death charts, I really felt like a beginner again, because it was really uncharted territory. And I'm going to tell you a little story, Trish. Maybe this will, because you seem to know some astrology, it will resonate with you.
Well, I'm an astrologer too, but I don't do the kind of stuff you do.
Okay. So I don't know if you...
I don't do death charts.
If you work with a little asteroid named Juno, but Juno, so Juno is one of the first four and is representative usually of the marriage partner or the spouse. So this man came to me, and he had met his wife in college, and they got married, and they had 3 children, and they both worked in the mental health fields. And when they were in their middle to late 40s, his wife's best friend needed a kidney, and she was a perfect match. So she agreed to donate her kidney to her best friend. And during the surgery, something went wrong, and she sustained a TBI, a traumatic brain injury. So after the surgery, her personality was completely different, and she was unable to work, and she alienated all of her friends. She alienated the children. Nobody would have anything to do with her except her husband.
Jeez.
Stood by her side. So in the death chart, he had a time of death, and there was a symbol for him, Juno, right on the ascendant. And then the other 9, 10 planets were all grouped together exactly opposite on the opposite side of the chart. And he didn't tell me the story about how she died. I said to him, it looks like you were all alone in the death of your wife. And he was so stunned that it would show up. It made him kind of feel like, because he felt so guilty, he couldn't get the kids to see their mother. And he just had all this remorse about how it happened. And so the chart gave him permission to let go of that. So this is like shocking to me.
Incredible.
That if it really, it's not always that spot on, but I'd say a good 80% of the time, it's just like, there's a story there, and it's a story of what happened.
Wait. So if
I'm going to have to go back and check with my sister's chart.
Well, yes, I think that, I've been teaching this to other astrologers for quite a while. And they will come back to me and they'll say, well, I looked up when my dad died, and it was so important that I understood this. So yes, go back and look.
I don't have the death time for my parents.
But you have the
I have it
dates.
for Nigel, dog. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Rob, I think you had a question?
Yeah, I was thinking, if someone's listening who has recently lost someone they love, what would you most want them to know?
Well, so every single person that I've spoken with who's lost someone they love seems to feel this burden of guilt or remorse, because there's this feeling that I wasn't there enough, I didn't do enough, I should have known this, I should have known that. And what these death charts represent is that things happen the way that they happen because they had to happen that way. So basically, what you did was perfect for the situation.
Do the death charts give you any indication about the next life?
No.
No. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that would be really, really great.
I thought, it would be. I thought maybe that's a secret, that astrology holds.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But are there cosmic fingerprints that surround every death?
Well, so I can only speak from the ones that I've studied. And there was a kind of cosmic rightness about what happened. Mm-hmm. So the experience of the person who either was there or got the terrible phone call or whatever, things, yes, seem to be very profoundly aligned.
So after your twin died, did your life change somehow, or did you become a different person in some sense?
Well, my life changed because I started studying death charts.
Okay.
Okay. And then I started thinking that it was important that other astrologers have these techniques. So yes, it's been very profound professionally. And personally, I would say in our relationship, my sister, things were easier for her. She seemed to, quote unquote, be more successful than me. She got married earlier than I did. She seemed to reach those markers of adulthood or success more easily than me.
Did she have kids?
No. No. So now there's nobody that I can compare myself to. And that's kind of a relief. So twins live with a lot of comparison, whether it starts with your parents, but then you kind of just do that to yourself. Say that again.
You're the good twin, you're the bad twin.
Right. You're the smart twin, you're the cute twin, right?
Yeah. Did they dress you in the same outfit?
Absolutely, yes. So when we went to junior high, I could have a gray skirt and she could have a blue skirt. You know what I mean? So we could dress differently, but no, everything was identical.
Wow. Were you mistaken for her somehow?
Totally. And it was the worst.
That must really be disorienting.
After she died, people would come up to me and they would say, "Oh, her name was Luann. Luann, you changed your hair." And I'd be like, "Sorry, no." And then they would be like, "Oh my God, she died," and then so that was like,
that's having to relive it again with having to talk about it.
Yeah, that's something we were talking about before the podcast. That's even worse than photo memories. Because,
we're talking dog death, but the photos.
I got a cat here was bugging me. Right back.
Okay. Well, something the other twins said that was so interesting to me, because it was true for me too, is that my dad couldn't really look at me. And a lot of other twins said, my parents, that every time they see me, they see my dead twin, and it makes them sad.
Oh,
So the whole family was suffering
yeah.
in a different kind of way that was more broken, I think, than it would be in a non-twin death.
Yeah, you kind of get it doubly there from, yeah.
I never, yeah, that had never even crossed my mind. Is
Right.
for the family, for your family, it's because you're because they still interact with you. Yeah,
Right. And you're just a constant reminder.
Right. Boy.
that's tough. Yeah, wow, I never even thought about that before.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Bates is often drawn to people's soothing voices. He's my
Okay.
black cat. So I'm sitting here going, okay, Trish, pay attention to me.
yeah, swatting you lightly.
Yeah, I
like,
eat food.
Yeah. So do you do astrological readings for people, especially related to death charts after their loved one died then? Is that something
Yes.
people...
So I do birth charts, I do forecasts, I do comparisons, I do charts for families, I do charts for babies. So that was my established practice for the first 40 some years. And it's just been the last 10, 11 years that I've been doing death charts.
I love doing baby charts because you
I
see
do
such
too.
potential.
Yeah,
You know.
I do too.
Yeah. And parents always seem to enjoy it too. Wow, my kid can do this,
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's very fun.
But how about couples then? Like
Absolutely, couples.
Yeah.
Yep, just did one today.
Okay.
They'd been together for like 18 years, so they knew what all the problem points were.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
So, real quick, and I'm sorry if you explained this at the beginning of the episode, but maybe this would be something to mention at the end of the episode. What is it that you're revealing to people with the death charts? Why would somebody want to?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
So,
Well, the conditions, right?
well, so the role that astrology can play in helping people who are grieving has to do with finding meaning in the loss. So in the 40s, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote on death and dying and talked about there are stages that people go through as they die. And then later she wrote a book that people who are grieving go through: anger, bargaining,
It was great.
avoidance, whatever, denial. So I think it was the 90s, another therapist, David Kessler, worked with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and they created the 6th stage of healing from grief, and it's finding meaning. And so astrology can bring that sense of, this is a terrible thing, it's tragic, but there's a greater cosmic holistic picture. And if you look at some of the potentials for growth, there's a possible way to heal and recover from the loss.
So since you're Leo, like your twin, what do you see for yourself with this solar eclipse that's coming up?
Well,
is that too personal? I'm sorry. I'm just curious.
So it's happening in the part of my chart that has to do with other people. So there isn't anything personal going on with me. But, there's been some health issues with different members of the family and that kind of thing, completely out of the blue. So that would be pretty typical of an eclipse. But ask me again next February when it lands right on my ascendant, and I might have something to say.
Yeah, that one's an Aquarius next week.
Yes. But I've been doing this so long, I can go back and, that one happened, and then that one happened, and I kind of can remember what they were about. So context, everything.
Is it unusual for 2 eclipses to come in the same month?
No, it's 6 months later. Oh, the lunar and the solar, they're always 2 weeks apart.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're always 2 weeks apart.
Okay.
Sometimes the lunar's first, sometimes the solar's first, but they're always, because it's a full moon and a new moon.
Right.
So full moon will be the lunar eclipse.
6 months later is
Solar.
not
But then there'll be the pair 6 months later.
I guess I should know that because Trish is talking about astrology every day, in some way.
Kind of a physics thing as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Astronomical.
No.
Astronomical, right?
Oh.
With eclipses.
Astronomy.
They're definitely.
Yeah.
They're,
It is, yeah. The solar system moves in a particular way. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So how can
What's your
people?
next book?
I don't know. This one is I just finished giving birth to this one.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
How can people get a hold?
July.
Go ahead,
Come on.
Rob.
Yeah. How can people get in touch with you for doing readings?
Astrologybymoonrabbit.com is my website. You can go there. You can read about all the different services I offer. You can even schedule online. And if people want to buy the book Death Charts, an astrological tool for the bereaved, every major bookseller is carrying that book right now.
Interesting.
Well, I was on too. Oh, I know. I wanted to ask you about this nickname. Where'd you get this?
Well, so this
Moonrabbit.
nickname was part of my discovering astrology. I discovered astrology in my 20s. And it really changed. I finally found something that made sense to me. It was something that was like a worldview that I could really buy into 100%. And as I started getting into it, I felt like I wasn't the same person I used to be. So I was with a bunch of friends. We all felt like we didn't like our names. Could we change our names? And we were throwing out names. And somebody said Moon, and I thought, that really resonates. And at that time, I had the wrong birth time. So I didn't know that the moon was the most prominent angular planet in my chart. So, of course,
What's your moon sign?
my moon is Leo, and it's on the descendant.
But you're also a Leo sign.
No.
Oh, okay.
Virgo
Oh,
all
okay,
the way.
Well, now, so you said your twin was a Leo.
No, her death chart.
Oh, a death chart. Okay.
Her death chart.
So
Yes.
two pair of Virgos. That's interesting. Our daughter's a Virgo.
Okay.
And when she was born, I looked at the clock. I said, I got it, Megan.
That's right. That's right.
So I left Minneapolis about, 35, 40 years ago now. But I've still kept in touch with one of my friends who still lives in St. Paul. And he's had the nickname all these years of Rabbit. So when I saw your Moon Rabbit in St. Paul, I said, that was kind of a synchronicity.
Cool.
Yeah. And I mentioned that to him, and he said, yeah, it's always good to take an animal. It always works.
Yeah.
He's been a rabbit. Okay, it's been great having you
I
on.
have an interesting aside to all this.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Venezuela. And when I was 16, my dad decided to leave because things weren't good, came back to the States. I was in shock because I didn't get to say goodbye to the country. And that's when I started studying astrology. And that seems to be one of the things that happens. When something happens, people who take up astrology suddenly, the whole world opens up,
Yeah.
you know? It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can honestly say it's almost 50 years that I've been doing this professionally, every day. And I am not tired. I am not bored. I mean, you can just keep learning forever.
Right.
So,
Did you do you did charts manually in the beginning?
yes, I did everything to slide
That's
rule.
hard.
So did Trish. And she's not
My
very
dad,
good
I
at
used to
math.
say, I said, Dad, I'm a terrible mathematician. How do I figure out how to do this? He used to have to construct my charts for me.
And then weren't you so delighted when the computers could do them?
Oh, God, it was just like,
Yeah.
wow, it was fantastic. Well, Linda, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for joining the Mystical Underground. Visit www.themysticalunderground.com for the latest blog post and book info. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Listen to the podcast at podcast.themysticalunderground.com. Follow Trish and Rob on Instagram at Trish and Rob MacGregor. Follow us on Twitter at The Mystic Cast. Send email to podcast@themysticalunderground.com. And until next week, thank you for listening and stay mystical.